Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with J. Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is, I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke, as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Well, everyone, again, I can't do this if I don't start with thanks. I'm just amazed that week in and week out, you guys listen, you watch the episode. We're getting towards 425 episodes really soon. And it just means a ton. And I'm blown away by our guest. This is not only a bona fide rock star, but I mean, hanging poster on my wall when I was a kid rock star. And not only is he here, he's here for a second time, which means I didn't screw up that interview the first time. So let me give you the intro. Not only is this guest the lead singer of Steeler, the lead singer of Keel, the lead singer of Black Sabbath, and the Ron Keel Band. This is the metal cowboy himself. Ron Keel, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gordon. It's great to see you and great to be back on the show for a second time. I love what you do and appreciate the invitation.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. You've been a supporter of me, which is blown away. You've even helped interact with a couple of interviews, and I really appreciate it. You've gone above and beyond. And as soon as I saw that you had a new single, I had to reach out to you. So that was exciting. It really was. I knew you were working on it, but when it just popped up in the headphones on Spotify, I was like, well, I'm going to reach out to Ron. Ron, do you feel good? You got a new single out? How does it feel to have some new music?
It feels great. This song, When This Is Over, is one of those songs, and as musicians, songwriters, performers, entertainers, we spend our whole lives chasing those really special songs. Mm-hmm. I've had a few of them through the years that this one is different. This one is one of those songs that I truly love, and it's its own reward. Being creative and creating something like this is priceless. I'm already paid in full. But it also gives you the desire and the impulse and the energy that we had as a kid. I want everybody to hear this. Normally I don't have this type of energy behind a single or a song that I've created. This is one of those that is totally fulfilling. I'm happy in every way about the song and the recording. But it's also one of those things, when I was a kid getting started in this business, I wanted everybody to look at me, listen to me. And as I've gotten more mature, that hasn't mattered as much as the pursuit of that real creative, those special moments, because you realize after 40 years that those songs just don't come along every day. We were rehearsing and getting ready to go in the studio to record some other songs. Mm-hmm. And I, of course, am always on the laptop interacting with the fans, and I got an email from a fan overseas who just really loved what we're doing and thanked us for the music and said, I can't wait for you to tour over here when this is over. Now, this is still during the pandemic, the trail end of the pandemic before the invasion of the Ukraine by Russia. So the pandemic was still the big elephant in the room at that time. And those 4 words just popped off the screen at me, when this is over. And I realized, man, is it ever going to really be over? We were in a Cold War with Russia when I was born. Right. And apparently we're still, is it over yet? I don't know, man. But that message of hope, the fact that when this is over, we're all going to get back to living life and doing what we love, but also with that thread of reality in there when we have to grow up and face the truth. Those core elements balancing together in the lyric, and the fact that we don't really talk about anything timely in the lyric. We don't mention 9/11 or JFK's assassination or the pandemic or the war in the Ukraine or I don't mention any of those instances by name. So this could be a bad day at the office. It could be a collapse of a relationship. It could be World War III. It doesn't matter what this is, as long as we get back to the real things in life: family, love, music, good times, smiles, when this is over. And so I'm really, really pleased with the song, the reaction that it's gotten, and we're just getting started. The single just came out last week, and the music video premieres this week at bravewords.com. So we're just getting started with this song. And it's one of those songs that I could have saved it for the next album.
Yeah.
I just said, no, the world has to hear this now. We've got to release this as a single right now. Let's shoot the video. Let's get it out there. So we didn't want to wait for the new album to come out next year for people to hear this song. I want them to hear it now, and hopefully they'll enjoy it.
Well, I've got to say thank you. You really have written a song that's got a timeless nature to it. And I mean, as a music fan, and I'm also a guitarist, I love a big chorus. You know, we want the chorus that makes you just stop what you're doing. And I think I mentioned to you, I'm out for my Friday long run, and that means I've got the release radar happening on Spotify, and Spotify knows what I like and what I listen to, so they take the new songs, and I didn't look at it that day. I didn't look to see who had new music out. And so I'm out for the run, and, you know, first thing, that guitar comes in, my brain immediately starts thinking, trying to play it by ear in my head. Heard your voice, and I think that's Ron. But when the chorus hit, I stopped, took my phone. I have a little arm strap. I carry my phone in when I run. I stopped it, pulled it out, and I was like, that's the single Ron's been working on. And it just resonated. That night, my daughter and I, she's just a music fan. I'm like, you got to hear this and listen to it on the way over again. Because, you know, tell me a little bit about it. It's got that a little bit of an 80s ballad feel, but it's also got some country elements, but it's got that, you know, stadium chorus as well. Did it just flow? Did you just pick up the guitar and just come to you when you started writing? How did it come about?
Well, that's what it's all about, Gordon, is not only is the song timeless, but it transcends all beliefs. You can be of any religion, of any political affiliation, whatever. It's not left, it's not right. It perfectly transcends all of those barriers and crosses those lines. And it also crosses the genre, styles of music that, and I've seen that response already from fans on social media.
Great.
Where one guy will say, "Man, this is good, new country music. I love it," and one guy says, "This rocks."
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know you got something when you get that same reaction from two different people that hear it. Oh, this is country. This is rock. You realize you've crossed those lines and broken down some of those barriers. When I got that email from that fan, that said, "We can't wait to see you when this is over," my guitar player Dave Cawthorn was staying at my house that night because we're rehearsing and we're in the studio making a new record. I woke him up. I went in and shook his bed. I said, "Wake up now. We're writing this song right now." Put a guitar in his hands. We came downstairs. I turned the camera on. I have the whole session on video from the time I explained the feeling of the song. And Dave had never written lyrics before. He's not a lyric guy. He's a musician. He's a guitar guy. So he had never written lyrics. He said, I don't write lyrics. I don't know anything about how to do that. And I said, man, lyrics are just a conversation that rhymes. All you have to do is pour your heart out and tell a story. What would you do when this is over? Well, man, I'd visit my granddad. You know?
Oh, I love that line. I love that line. It really
visit
resonates.
my granddad. Yeah. So you just write your feelings, and you have a conversation, and a lyric is a conversation with one person. You're singing to one person. You're singing to Gordon Duncan as he's out there running. You're not singing to a million people at once. You are singing and telling a story, or sharing an emotion or a feeling with one person at a time. And the guys in the band, Dave and I are writing the song, we're already down. I drug him downstairs, put a guitar in his hand. We started writing the song. I opened up the lyric book, and we started pouring out chords and ideas and transitions. The drummer walks in for rehearsal. He gets there. Jeff Kohler, my drummer in Ron Keel Band. He walks down the stairs. He's here for rehearsal. We didn't even bat an eye. I didn't even say, "Hi, Jeff." I just pointed at the drums. I said, "Sit over there. You go sit there." And Jeff started pouring out his heart in the lyrics as well. When this is over, what would we like to do? We want to ride our motorcycles across the nation and sing for people. And really, it's just there's nothing very verbose or profound about it. It's just an expression of those feelings that I think we all have and share. So that's how the song came together. It was very quick. And we went in the studio immediately and cut it. And right then and there, I said, we've got to have a video. We went and shot the video at a place called The Alliance here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now, this is the former building known as Badlands Pond. This is the building that I came here to build, a $70 million facility. I was hired to be the musical director, the band leader on the radio team, a part of the marketing and management team for this business. That's why I relocated to Sioux Falls for this building. It was a pawn shop, a concert venue, a radio station. It's like redneck rock and roll Disneyland, man. And we poured our hearts and souls into it. My wife moved here with me. We bought a house. We were all in. And the business, it didn't take long for that thing to implode and go south. So immediately, we were out of work. Obviously, we had no employment. The band was in a state of, what do we do next now? Because the band was financed and supported. The crew, the pyro, the tour bus, all that was supported by this business. And then within a matter of a couple of weeks, my wife got cancer. There were a lot of bad memories associated with that because it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. So that building is literally 4 miles from my house as we speak. And I did not go back through those doors for 5 years. It was bought by the Veterans Administration and a group of consolidated businessmen and veterans who turned it into what they called the Alliance, a sanctuary and a monument to our military veterans that serve. So now it's a combination of the VA, an American Legion, a concert venue. And I called the manager. I said, look, I think we need to come full circle and bring this band back where we started 7 years ago. It's been 5 years since I walked through the doors. I want to come back in and shoot this music video. And they opened the doors for us with all the open arms. We walked back through those doors, got back on that stage where this band got its start, and filmed this amazing music video, which is premiering Friday. So we made a good, new, positive memory in a building that had, it was a painful experience. It was great, for a great opportunity. It brought me to Sioux Falls, which I now call home. And it was, like I said, the best of times, the worst of times. So to film the video there and come full circle and now have this thing out there all over the world and people are listening to it and enjoying it, appreciating it, understanding it, or misunderstanding it. I don't know, but we have not received one negative comment yet so far. It's really cool to be able to write a song that makes a very powerful statement these days without offending anybody. And I think we've accomplished that.
I gotta say thank you for the behind the scenes. I just know as a musician, and I've got folks who listen to the show and watch it. Those things are fun. It's fun to hear what makes up a song, especially when it's a band written song, when you can see people collaborating and returning to a place and finding a measure of redemption. We don't often get that. And I know you have a passion to support the veterans and first responders, and so going back there gives you sort of that multi-purpose. And so I'm very thankful to hear that you got that. And everyone watching and listening, you can find all the links to, by this time the video will be out, where you can buy the single and where you can get it. I'm also going to include everybody, Ron's Patreon page. Because, guys, if you don't know, Ron is intimately involved with his fans. And he does a lot of that through the Patreon. And Ron, the Patreon is a brand new model of what it looks like to be a musician, a professional musician in this day and age. So if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of pivot towards that a little bit, because I'm watching the photos of you sending out signed autograph CDs, before it comes out, because you're really caring for your fans who become friends on the Patreon. Can you tell me a little bit about your Patreon and then what that looks like to be a professional musician today?
I'll try and condense it. It's a long story, 4 years old. We're going to be celebrating our 4th year on the Patreon platform in September. And it started before the pandemic. As I mentioned earlier, my wife was diagnosed with cancer. And all of a sudden, I'm not touring for a year. I'm stuck at home, taking care of her where I should be while she's going through her bout with cancer. The multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, all that, but I can't stop entertaining people. How do I find a way to work from home? Way before the pandemic was ever heard of. So I found this platform called Patreon and created a page. It's a subscription service. Just like all of us today, every TV network has a Plus or a Prime or something where you pay a little extra each month and you get all the cool stuff. This is basically the same business model. And we have to be careful about subscriptions. I mean, you could subscribe. I want to see every Star Trek, every Star Wars, my list of subscriptions is substantial. I love Prime. I love Apple TV. I love Netflix. And this is kind of like that type of business model for artists and musicians. Now, I don't recommend it for every musician because you just don't have enough content to supply that demand. You've got to give those people $7 a month. You find out, it's 23 cents a day. But overall, people are going, man, $7 a month, I really don't need to spend, right? So you start canceling your Amazon Prime or your Netflix, and you go to these other, you got to keep your budget in mind. So I try to over-deliver and always have with my Patreon subscribers. They get everything that I do and everything that I've done. You want to see the first Keel show ever from 1984, Keel debut? You're only going to find it on Patreon. We have music videos. We have music videos that we've done, full production music videos that are only on Patreon. They don't go to YouTube or Facebook or ronkeel.com. They go to the Patreon page. All of the podcasts, the radio broadcasts, the personal interaction, the merch discounts. The merch discounts alone. I mean, you can sign up for $6.99, but I'm going to give you $10 off your admission to the next Ron Keel show. So try and over-deliver, make it a value that people can respect and appreciate. Now, on the plus side, I've made an extra tens of thousands of dollars from people who don't want to subscribe because they don't want that discount. They want to pay full price. That's cool, too. I'll sell you a CD, whether you're paying full price or whether you get your Patreon discount. That's cool. But the people on Patreon, and I do literally tons. There are hundreds and hundreds of posts on that site where I'll just dig into. I've got the studio here in this room where I've got a cassette deck hooked up, and I'll go back through the archives and I'll find Keel live in Tokyo from 1986, and I'll transfer that cassette to digital, and we play what I call cassette roulette. Let's find out what's on this tape and share those memories with the fans. A lot of personal interaction, all the discounts. The Patreon members get VIP access at shows. I never do a paid meet and greet. I'm not one of those guys. I never do that. Whether it's even the Patreon members get to come in early. They get to go to sound check. I'll buy pizza for everybody, whatever. And we have that special time together at a gig. After the show, I'm at the merch table meeting everybody. So you don't have to subscribe to Patreon to get to hang with me, meet me, get a picture, get an autograph. I never charge for any type of VIP meet and greet experience. But the people on Patreon always get the special treatment. That address is patreon.com/Ron Keel. You can sign up for a month for $6.99. Go back through the entire 4 years of archives and then unsubscribe. If you don't like it, that's cool. But I found that most people really, Gordon, it's not about me and my product and my presentation. It's really about that camaraderie that the fans feel amongst themselves. They've become a tribe. They are the Keelaholics. They are like a gang. They're my street team, and they have developed friendships with each other through my Patreon platform, and they're all like one big family. So I'm just kind of like the host of the party, but they are amazing. And they enjoy being a part of something. That's why we all go to concerts anyway.
That's right.
Right? To be a part of a shared experience. We're all trying to share an experience with music and singers and songs and things that we enjoy. And you can bring that worldwide with one click by having my Patreon page. So it is a big part of what I do. And I appreciate everybody that has forked out that $7 a month and lasted now for 3-4 years. And but you got to have a lot of content. If you're going to make that work, you got to have a radio show and a book and an audio book and a podcast, and you got to create audio blogs, and you've got to give them all. And you can't be a Facebook junkie. Normally these days, everybody does whatever they do. their lunch, their pet, they have to post it on Facebook. And you find that I don't do that. I will hold back that stuff and give it to my Patreon members first. And they've already seen the video. If you're a member at patreon.com/Ron Keel, they saw the video 2 weeks ago. It will premiere shortly before this is broadcast, or before you share this. But everybody on Patreon's already seen it. They've already heard the radio show. They know what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be. And that's just part of like being in a family. Because if you would come home and tell your wife and kids about what's going on in your life. And so I treat my Patreon members like that. I can let my hair down, or well, not really. But it's a great experience for me and the fans.
Well, I've got to commend you. When I'm not interviewing rock heroes, I do marketing training, and so companies will bring me in to train their staff on doing marketing. And so, for example, if I'm talking to realtors and they want to raise their awareness and their presence, I tell them, well, the first thing you've got to do is stop consuming content and start creating content. And the moment you move to a creator, then you've got an opportunity to build an audience. But you can't just sit and scroll and comment and like. You got to create content. And so what I can see from you is that you've got the video, you've got the studio, you've got the ability, and then you're creating content, sharing a lot of your life. I mean, just opening your life up to your fans. And that's what creates the connection. It connects a loyalty because you bridge that gap right now, especially in situations like this where you can't go to as many concerts as you can't, or you're in South Dakota, but people can feel a shared experience with you. So I just wanted to commend you on that. I think your creation of content is just I've shared with a couple of other people I just referenced to you. Like, you may have to reach out to Ron. I think he's got this Patriot thing nailed down. But if you don't mind, I want to talk about this. Now, folks, if you have not read Nothing But a Good Time, and you are an 80s metal fan, this is the book. Any rock star of that time, from Blackie Lawless to Michael Sweet, is in here. And Ron, you're in here, rightfully so. I mean, 40 years ago, this is what you're doing. And so I'm going to ask you to share a couple experiences. You specifically talk about getting to LA and watching Rat with Jakey Lee on guitar. And you talk about that moment. And, you know, we all know that Jakey Lee was in Rat, but the people who got to see him, there was a small number of that. And of course, both Rat, Jakey Lee legends have gone on, have earned all rights to just be honored for what they've done. But how old were you, and what was that like to walk in? Where was it, the Whiskey? And then you saw that band just killing it like that. What was that like for you?
It was at Gazzarri's. My first night in Hollywood.
Oh, that's right.
We flew out from Nashville. Because we made the decision we got to move to LA. It was no stroke of genius. I was 20 years old. But I realized that we weren't going to get where we wanted to go in Nashville. We were the Motley Crue of Nashville. You know, big hair, and animal skins, and leather, and pyro, and choreographed moves. And we were, you know, very much heavily influenced by bands like Judas Priest, Kiss, Scorpions, Van Halen. And we knew that Nashville at the time, in 1979, 1980, it was just country music city. And there was no opportunities for that type of band. We were an apple tree in a cornfield. We got a lot of attention very quickly, but I don't think we were going to get that record deal. So I said, we got to go to New York or LA. We've got to get out of here. New York's cold. It's but LA's got the beaches, and there's girls in bikinis. And I had no idea about the scene, what was going on out there. I said, well, we got to go to LA. So we flew to LA, the guitar player and I, to do a recon expedition. We were going to look at all the clubs and try and find a place to live and trying to get some bookings and calculate our move to Hollywood. And we walked into Gazzarri's that first night, rented a car, got a hotel, rented a car, went to Gazzarri's, and we're on the Sunset Strip, and we saw Rat with Jakey Lee that night, as you mentioned, that I talked about in the book. And it was obviously a very exciting, energetic time for music. This is before Motley Crue or Rat or Quiet Riot had gotten their record deals. This music was still unaccepted from an industry standpoint. The music business and radio weren't going to have anything to do with it. But the excitement on the street, on Sunset Boulevard, was absolutely electric. And
Wow.
we knew right then and there we were home. We were going to come out there. We were going to take over. And we got there about a month later with about 5 or 6 gigs already booked in these little out-of-the-way places in Pasadena or up in Lancashire, in North Hollywood. And we were the outsiders. We were the country guys from Nashville, the Hicks from Nashville. And we were not accepted in Hollywood for many, many months. We would play the fringe areas, Pasadena, Orange County, San Fernando Valley. We built a following all outside that Hollywood area. And I just hammered on the whiskey for months. I would literally deliver a new promo package and a demo tape and 8x10 photo to the office at the whiskey. I'd knock on the door and the girl would reach through the bars and grab my promo kit. And the person who booked the whiskey started getting this pile of Steeler promo kits on her desk.
Love it.
And finally she got sick of it. She said, okay, just give him a gig. Give him a gig. Give him a Monday night. Get him off my back and give him a gig. They booked us on a Monday night. We put out the mailing list flyers to all those people in Pasadena, Orange County, the Valley, everywhere. We sent out our mailing list flyers to everybody. So we're playing Hollywood. And they all converged on the whiskey on a Monday night to sell out the whiskey on a Monday night. These Nashville guys, this band Steeler from Nashville, sold out the whiskey, and the rest is history. That put us on the map.
Was that pre-Yngwie? Was that pre-Yngwie when you guys did
long
that first show?
Long before Yngwie, yes. A couple of years.
Long, I know you have
Yngwie,
you have a history long before them, and I mean, and you know, of course, my first experience was Shrapnel Records, consuming every single thing I could there to get that. You also share a story about a practice space that was just so terribly roach infested, and you were glad to leave it. What do moments like knocking on the door to deliver a promo pack over and over again and practicing in spaces that were that tough, like how did that produce resilience in you, whereas from other folks it might have just produced defeat? I mean, Ron, how did it do that for you? I mean, you hung in there. Why your perseverance?
It was in my nature. Luckily I was fearless, and I didn't really have, I believed in myself. I believed in what I was doing. It was really tough. A lot of people books like the one that you're holding there, which is a New York Times bestseller, will glorify that time. And the glory came later, but the struggle to get there was no picnic, man. I mean, people's lives were in danger. Our lives were in danger. We were starving. We were struggling. We were, I wasn't very good at what I do. I wasn't a very good songwriter. I could run around the stage like a madman and scream my guts out. That was my claim to fame. Yeah. It was my learning experience. It was college, the School of Hard Knocks, and all those other cliches that taught me how to perform, how to do business, how to negotiate a business deal, how to run a band, how to lead a team, how to create records, how to do all the stuff that I do now. I learned how to do it in the trenches during the early 80s. Now, of course, it did pay off, thank goodness, and very thankful for the opportunity to get a record deal in 1984 after we'd been there for 3 years. Spent 3 years in Hollywood, pounding the scene, clawing our way up, and had to change the name of the brand from Steeler to Keel, which was the last thing I ever wanted to do, was name a band after myself. But as soon as I did, within 3 months, we were making an album, Late on the Law, for Shrapnel Records. And within another couple of months of that, literally 8 weeks later, we were signed to A&M Records, and Gene Simmons was producing our debut album, The Right to Rock. So it worked out pretty well for us. And then came the glory and the wonderful experiences that you dream about. You know, touring the world, seeing yourself on MTV and seeing yourself in the magazines, and having the sold-out arena shows, playing with Motley Crue and Van Halen and Bon Jovi and, you know, Triumph. Our first arena show was with Triumph at the LA Sports Arena. And I'd worked, it seemed like I worked forever to get there. And I'm, 23 years old at the time. Yeah. And I walk into the arena, and I went all the way up to the very farthest away from the stage, the very cheapest seat in the house. and I looked down there and I saw the Keel banner flying and all my gear set up on that stage. Gets me emotional just even remembering that moment to realize all the stuff that you knew, you had to believe, you had to think, I'm going to get there. And looking back now, I realize how difficult it was. It was impossible, man. So many people never get the opportunity to have those dreams come true. So I'm very thankful for that. At the time, I thought it was a done deal. It's a given. I'm a rock star, and it's going to happen no matter what. And I don't care I don't care what you say. I'm going to do what I came here to do. And now I realize, man, I was crazy. I was crazy, but we pulled it off.
Well, there's unfortunately a million stories of musicians who just weren't aware of the business part of the music business. And so when was the first time for you as a young musician, you're making it in LA, that you realized, oh, this is a business? Do you remember that moment or somewhere around there where you're like, wait a minute, this is a business?
I realized very early on, long before any of the stories I just told, I was still a teenager at the time, when I knew it was a business, and I had the good sense, I guess, or I think intellect has a lot to do with it. I'm not bragging about my brains or nothing. I'm a high school dropout. I left school to go on the road with a rock band, but my intellect had a lot to do with it. The fact that I could put words together and make a presentation with a promotional package, with an 8x10 photo, and write a nice bio, and keep records of things, and try and put that into a presentation that I could take to a record company. And I did that at 17. That's what got me to Nashville in the first place. And realizing that you can't always listen to the experts in your business. It's happened to me several times throughout my career, Gordon. I can tell you of many instances where I sat across the table from a very powerful executive in Los Angeles at Capitol Records or any of these other labels, sitting across the table from them, and they're telling me, this music is never going to get played on the radio. You're digging your own grave. Nobody's ever going to buy this.
Right.
And I go, no. This is the music of the wild and the young, man. The kids want to hear this, and this is rock and roll. And literally within a couple of years after that, bands like us, Motley Crue, Rat, Quiet Riot had created a multi-billion-dollar business and proved all of them wrong.
Amazing.
It happened to me again with country music. I moved to Las Vegas in 2006 to create a country music tribute show. And at the time, I'm sitting across the desk from these casino executives and entertainment directors at all the major casinos in Las Vegas saying, I've got this country show. I think it's going to work. They go, no. Country music doesn't work in Las Vegas. We need dancing girls, and we need tracks, and you need to lip sync. And no, this is real. This is country music. This is real guys playing a concert experience with tributes to Willie Nelson and Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw. And no, that's not going to work here. Well, I finally got a break and got one casino to bite, and it ended up generating millions of dollars and became the longest running country music show in Las Vegas history. We lasted 10 years.
Wow.
So, those experts don't always listen to the guys who are in a position of power who think they know what they're talking about. If you know you're right, and you know that there's an audience out there for what you do, and country music is the music of the people, man. The hardworking, all-American people that come to Las Vegas from all across the world. They're not necessarily all there to see Liberace.
That's right. That's right.
And it worked. So I still take that same philosophy with me everywhere I go. When people doubt my ability to succeed, I'll stick with my gut. And if I know there's an audience for it, and the audience doesn't have to be huge. Back in the day, we sold 100,000 albums our first week. When the first album came out, and we sold 100,000 copies of The Right to Rock. And we didn't even chart in the top 200. Nowadays, if you sell 30,000 or 40,000 albums your first week, you're number one on that Billboard chart.
Yeah.
So the audience has changed. I realized early on that if I sell a few million records, which I have, that means billions of people don't like me or don't want what I do. And you have to realize that you just have to satisfy enough of an audience to make it worth your while.
Amazing. Well, and that's what you've done, Ron. You were assured of the rightness of your cause. That was an expression given to me by an old military chaplain. He's like, if your cause is right, then be assured of the rightness of your cause. So it sounds like that's what kept you driving in those moments when someone said you can't do that. Ron, let me ask you. I mean, again, with an incredible history. I mean, 80. I mean, that's 42 years that you've been doing this. Do you still have a good community of folks from the 80s and the 90s that you text, you keep up with? You don't have to drop any names, but I mean, do you still have a community of the rockers that became your friends, that you keep up with each other, encourage each other? I know you do with Rick and some other guys like that, but do you?
Absolutely. It is very much a fraternity of veterans from that scene who survived. And each
Mm-hmm.
year, of course, as we get older, we're losing more and more of them. So it makes us treasure that community that much more.
Mm-hmm.
And my weekly radio show, Streets of Rock and Roll, is weekly. It's a reunion of some of those guys that were my heroes or my peers that we still do shows together. We've got some big gigs on the books coming up in September. We've got a big festival called Rocktember where we're on the bill. Ron Keel Band, Quiet Riot, Stephen Piercy from Rat, Jackal, Winger, Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. That's September 10th, 9th and 10th in Hinckley, Minnesota. So at these festival events where we all get together, it really is like a family reunion.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. You know, the wonderful thing about this day is, I mean, yeah, there are Patreon, but if you go to these shows, there's still a good chance you can meet these guys. I saw Quiet Riot last year, met all four of them, and it was Rudy's first show back. And I mean, Rudy Sarzo's a legend. I mean, he's played with every band in the world, and just, you know, he can tell you about Randy Rhoads, and I'm sure you met Randy as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the day and age right now, you really can get access and speak to the heroes, and it's wonderful to hear that the fraternity exists for all of you that have persevered all the way through that. And so if someone says, why would you go see them? They're old and washed up. I'm like, what are you talking about? The chance to, I can still go see, if Kiss comes around, I'm going to go see them one more time. Doesn't matter if I've seen them 6, 7 times. How many more chances can I get? Because there's going to be a day where I don't get to see them.
Absolutely. I'm still a fan too. I'm a fan first. And that's why we got into this business in the first place, because we love this music. We love what rock and roll is all about. I'm a fan first still. I just bought tickets to see Judas Priest on their 50th anniversary tour in Sioux City, Iowa, about 90 miles down the road. I saw the ad come up. Buy tickets. I'm still that same kid. I don't know if I'd wait in line all night at the arena. We used to camp out. We would camp out. There'd be a line of, a mile long. And you wait, you go up to the counter, and you fork out your $7 to see a sold out Kiss back then for $7. I would wait all night in that line. I don't know if I do that, but now it's really easy. One click away, man. I pick my seats, I buy tickets. So I'm still a fan. I love being out there in the audience and enjoying the rock and roll experience.
You know, the fun moments, my brother and I wiggled our way backstage to see Stryper on their In God We Trust tour, and got back there. Didn't get kicked out. Got to meet the band, and, you know, Robert showed me his drum kit. And, like, for my brother and I, we'll talk about that when I see him in a couple of months. Like, remember that time? Those moments when, and again, for me, I've been telling people all week, I get to talk to Ron again, because those things mean something to fans. I mean, as a fan, when you get to meet someone who's had that impact on you. Ron, I think this is rhetorical question. Do you still get that, well, I can't believe I get to talk to these folks who think I'm an incredible musician? Do you still get that amazing moment that people really still want to see you? What's it like for you when people are like, Ron Keel, how's that feel for you this many years later?
It's extremely humbling, and it touches my heart and soul at the deepest level to know that people just enjoy what I do and appreciate it. It blows me away, because, you know, as much of a fan as I am of the bands that I enjoyed and grew up listening to, you know, I never made a banner. I never went to a concert and had a big banner that said, you know, Judas Priest or Kiss. Or I would never. And I've got a collection of them in the next room of banners that people have made for me, and they still come to the shows with these banners that, you know, they'll write out these messages or draw the logo on the banner. And, you know, I never did that for anybody. The fact that people are still buying what we do and enjoying the music, it is extremely rewarding. And I can't thank them enough for keeping my dreams alive every day, because it's not a hobby, it is a business. And if I couldn't afford to do it, I couldn't do it. And fortunately for me, I'm not very good at anything else. Anything to do with music or songwriting or production or business or management, whatever. But I am still addicted to that feeling of performing, hitting the road with my guys and getting on stage. That is something that keeps me young, keeps me healthy, keeps me in shape, keeps me driving forward. If I didn't have to come in here, right behind the computer screen here is a stage, right over there on that side of the room that I built in my basement, where I come down here literally for 2-3 hours a day and perform, sing, play, sweat, throw the mic stand into the ceiling. And I have to do that in order to stay on top of my game. If I didn't have to do that, I'm not sure I would, because it's a lot of work. It's 3 hours a day of sweat, muscle, screaming your guts out and playing till your fingers bleed. And but I do that because I know if I stop, it's going to end. And it's been just too much fun and too rewarding of a ride to stop right now. And I think I'll keep doing it as long as I possibly can.
Well, Ron, thank you for keep doing it. I want to be mindful of your time. So just two things. First of all, I want to commend you for still making new music. I know every band has their own path. Some bands don't choose to make new music. I respect that. I understand it, but I want to commend you. There's a risk for any musician with a legacy like yours to continue to put on music, but you're putting out good music. That makes a difference. But to conclude, tell everybody about Streets of Rock and Roll, because I think that's really where folks get a chance to connect with you. If you don't mind, tell everybody about Streets of Rock and Roll, if that's okay.
The radio show, you mean?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the name of the radio show is Streets of Rock and Roll, named after the Keel reunion album from 2010. Streets of Rock and Roll it's like my wonderland, where a place where I go, whether it's in the music or on the radio. And I named the radio show that when we launched 10 years ago. I've always had a passion for radio. What kid who loves rock and roll doesn't want to grow up and be a DJ? And it's a magical kind of place where you can entertain people that can't see you. Of course, now we have Vimeo and Zoom and all these platforms where you do have to put your clothes on to do an interview. But I had a passion for radio, and I thought I'd really like to try that. I launched the show 10 years ago, and
Amazing.
it's really, for me, it's just a way to entertain people and keep creating something. Now, it's a huge mountain to climb each week. You realize you got to put together the playlist. You've got to find a guest. You've got to interview someone. You've got to have a theme. Usually the show revolves around a particular theme or a style or an event. I take the radio show with me around the world on my travels. So I'll take the fans to Australia with me. I'll do interviews over there, or Europe, or on the cruise, the Monsters of Rock cruise. And I try and put all that stuff into one comprehensive package. It's a broadcast that is on multiple stations each week. You can find all those links at ronkeel.com. And it is a mountain of work. But I find that once I get started, once you start putting, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You're getting the songs and the playlist, you get the interview. I think I know what I'm going to say. And it's like making a record or creating a piece of entertainment. So I really enjoy the process. I'm really glad when it's done and I hit the final button and the show's done. It's done. My goodness, it's done. And then you got to put it out there and promote it. Every Wednesday we premiere on my station, KRFK Radio, which is my station. I've got my own station now, which has 25,000 listeners on TuneIn. After only being on the air for 4 months, we've got 25 listeners on the TuneIn app. The response to the station has been fantastic. So my radio show premieres there every Wednesday and then goes out to all the other stations. It's a great opportunity to entertain people and to reach the audience. I just create the kind of show that I would like to listen to, and I appreciate everyone who enjoys it each week on the Streets of Rock and Roll.
Well, thanks so much. You're interviewing old buddies. You're interviewing, Dee Snider. I mean, just folks that people still love, and then get to see you guys interact. So it's really good. I commend it to everybody. So, Ron, I want to say thank you again. Every time I talk to you, I enjoy it a ton. I enjoy the single. I'm going to include all the links in the show notes. And everybody, one, I'm going to encourage you to check out what Ron's doing. All the show notes are in, all the links are in here. But also support local music, man. If you're a band from the 80s is coming around and you're like, those guys are still playing, you know what? Go see them. Because those special moments come right back. But Ron, I just want to say thank you. It means a ton that you'd be on the show. Any last things you'd like to share? Anything you want to share with the listeners and watchers?
No, I just want to thank you, Gordon. Great job. I've become not only a friend, but a fan of what you do, and I'm proud to be a part of the broadcast with you for the second time. Thanks for your support, and I enjoy what you do as well. So I appreciate that. All the people that are watching and listening, hope that you just check it out at ronkeel.com. And, it's not for everybody, but it's for the metal cowboy in everyone.
Yeah. I
or
love
the metal
it.
cowgirl.
Again, that means a ton. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you being here every week. You can find us everywhere. You can find your podcast and on YouTube as well. And we will be right back with you again next week. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you soon.
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Small business owners, you should be praised for wanting to grow your business. That's a good thing, and not everybody has the guts to do it. As a business owner myself, I know you've overcome obstacles that people don't even know about. Hi, my name is Gordon Duncan, the owner of Capitalized Marketing and Consulting, and I want you to know that if your business hasn't grown like you want it to, it's not your fault. If it's not COVID getting in the way, it's ridiculous things like changing social media algorithms. You're right in thinking that very few people are doing small businesses any favors right now. But Capitalized Marketing and Consulting is here to help. We've created a 90-day course that is guaranteed to grow the revenue of your business. It will give you the tools that you've been looking for, and as a certified coach, I would be with you along the way. If you would like to learn more about our program, just visit capitalizeyourbest.com and get started enjoying the success you deserve. Again, that's capitalizeyourbest.com, and I can't wait to celebrate all you accomplish.